Hello and welcome to Marginal Support, where support is anything but marginal. I am Andre Lindy, and today I have a pretty special guest. Idit is with me today, and it's special because we used to work together way long ago at Kinchu, and so it was an absolute pleasure when she reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want to be on the show because I get to catch up with you now." Idit, thank you for being on the show.
No, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. I'm so excited that you're making this podcast now and I get to be a guest here. Who would have thought, right? When we used to work
Exactly.
together at Kenshu back in
I
San
mean,
Francisco.
long time ago. Before we jump into the topic that you told me you wanted to talk about, I just want to talk about the sport community, and that's really how we kind of reconnected because I think I saw you maybe on Support Driven, or I maybe saw one of my posts, and I think it's just really interesting how you know I took a step away from sport when I was at Kinchu, but then I went back to it. But then you're also part of this community. So can you speak a little about what does the support community mean to you?
hmm Yeah, so I was acquainted to it mainly by support driven community, and it actually happened, I think, when I was looking for a job. So I unfortunately experienced laid off at the previous company I was at and was looking for new leadership roles and support, and that's how I came across support driven community, which gave me so much support, but hope and light that there are so many like me that are really passionate about support, and that there's an actual need for that in the market. And then I got connected with all these people on LinkedIn, and I see the posts constantly, and yeah, it's really refreshing to really find a community that's so focused on support. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's nice to have people that actually understand what we do and know the hardships of the job. Yeah, I completely agree with you. As I said in another recording I did, I think people in sport have a tendency to kind of hermit a little bit. They only think within inside their own company. And so when
Yeah,
they realize that
yeah,
there are people outside of their company also doing it, it really creates this, for lack of a better word, supportive network
yeah.
that we all can lean on
Support,
each other.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, and I often ask questions there, like, now I'm looking for a specific tool, or even for this, we're going to talk about 24/7 support. So I was also asking how do you compensate your employees on that? It's really, it really helps to create those offline conversations. It's kind of offline, because it's not public anywhere. It's not really on LinkedIn, and no one will publish those things. It's just on a DM with a colleague.
Well, I think that's a great entry right there into what we're going to talk about today. So I think a lot of people, when they think about support, they think, oh, 24/7. Oh, yeah, that just kind of happens by itself, which it really doesn't. So I'd love to hear just, your experience with it, setting it up, all the hardships that go with it.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely, yeah. 24/7 is not something that comes out of the box, because support engineers, like any other profession, we usually work Monday through Friday. 9 to 5. We don't want to work around the clock. So yeah, it's just a normal day job. That's what support is. And if you want to get to 24/7 support, you really have to work on your staffing model. Now, the way it came about at my current position at Port.io, we actually committed to premier customers. We started selling those premier packages, like gold, diamond, and whatnot, and we committed to 24/7 support. So we actually had a contractual obligation to put that in place. So that was easy from my perspective. I didn't need to get buy-in from leadership, from executives to actually execute this. They more so told me, okay, please execute this. We need to have this in place ASAP. So that was the need that was coming from.
For 24/7, I mean, I've seen it in the past where it's not true 24/7. You have people on call, maybe with a pager or something like that, or is only when, you have like a P0 something like that, but that's not true 24/7. How do you handle when you really have to set up a follow the sun model where you really have to have people outside of, let's say, the US start to work? Maybe you have a BPO, or maybe you have people in Asia or Europe. Like, what's your approach to really setting up people outside of where your headquarters are at?
Yeah. So first of all, I do want to touch on upon what you said on it's not a true 24/7 support. I will say what I have built, and what I know from the previous company where I built that as well at Firebolt, it's an on-call model. Now, it was definitely a question that we had to answer, whether we want people actually working those weekend shifts, working those night shifts around the clock, or do we only want people on an on-call model? The best way for me to convince executives that this should be an on-call model is just by looking at the sheer volume of tickets that come in during those hours. So we looked, it's a very easy metric to get from your ticketing system, how many tickets open up on a Saturday and on a Sunday, and we saw the numbers are really low, and then we thought, well, who's gonna sit on that shift and not really do much, just wait around for tickets to come in? They also raised the option of, okay, let's use BPO for this, so it won't be someone who's actually fully integrated on the support team, but maybe someone who only works weekends. My response to that is I was not in favor, because I think, especially during those times, during, let's say, a weekend, okay? Let's put nights aside, but I'm just talking about weekends right now, Saturday, Sunday, which is a 48-hour time frame, right? You have the nighttime there as well. But you need your most competent people on that shift, because they're all alone. There's no one else to help them. There are no other colleagues from the team, or no other support engineers that they can lean on, no one from the R&D that they can escalate to without actually paging someone. So that person is all alone, handling the entire shift, whatever comes in. You can't really have someone that is not fully ramped up on the product and on the support processes and all the updates that we constantly need to stay up to date with all the product enhancements and changes. So that's why I did not take the route of a BPO, but using the support team members and staffing it with an on-call model.
I think that really is the best approach. I mean, because if you think about it, people that are only working weekends, they don't have that frequency with the product to really feel comfortable with it, be able to answer, edge questions or something that's very nuanced. Maybe if it was just like a B2C company, maybe that'd work, but most B2B companies, that won't work at all, because the product's too complex.
Yeah,
No,
100% agree.
when I've been on call and I've done that, we had some kind of conversation. Maybe it was either everyone has to do it every 4 weeks, or you get maybe, like a couple $100. What's your approach to how you incentivize people to actually be on call? Because it's not do you want to do it? You have to do it, but how do you really incentivize people to actually do it, though?
Yes, that's amazing question. Yeah, definitely the biggest challenge there, I would say. So we didn't have 24/7, and then we had to roll this out. So these were existing employees that all of a sudden had additional obligations added to their plate. So that we needed to communicate that very delicately. The way we framed that, and fortunately I have an amazing team and they were really receptive to it, is that we're growing as a company. We're trying to land bigger customers, bigger deals, enterprise level customers that are used to this type of support, and it just shows the growth of the company and the growth of the team. So that is how I positioned it with the existing team members. But also, as soon as we decided that we're moving to this on-call or weekend coverage model, I published that in the job description for any new hire. So for any new hire, it's right there, setting expectations from the get-go that this position includes weekend on-call, and it says that very clearly, approximately every 6 weeks. So I try to be very descriptive about it. Hopefully it's not even 6 weeks. Hopefully it's more around like every 9 weeks, every 9 weekends. But to be on the safe side is what I said, and I explicitly wanted to be descriptive and not leave it vague. So setting expectations from the beginning is important about any position.
I completely agree. I remember when I was doing my job search and I'd see so many vague job descriptions, like, well, what are even the responsibilities here? So I definitely encourage and applaud hiring managers that, put something in its clear black and white right there. I think one of the great things about you setting that expectation also is people can plan around that, is that they know, oh, this is going to be my weekend. I can't do anything this weekend. I need to stay by my computer. They can still do their things, watch TVs, watch movies, play games, whatever, but they know when the phone rings or whatever it is, they have to pick it up. So I think that's a really good model. What I'm also curious about is, how do you handle new people to come into the team? Like, how do you handle they're also going to be on call, but how do you help them get that confidence for when their first on-call shift comes up?
Yeah. I love all your questions, really. Yeah, so the way I implemented the 24/7 is that we have someone on call at any given moment. So even during work hours, someone is on call during that time to catch a page. So whether it's an urgent case that comes in, or whether it's a production incident or proactive monitoring that we need someone to attend to, we have someone on call as a focal point from the support team, also during working hours. So an actual 24/7 pager duty rotation, that's what we have. And that allows people the way to interact and familiarize themselves with being on call and getting paged when everyone else is around them and there to support them. So it's not that they're on their own in the middle of the night or on the weekend and they have to handle it. The first encounter that they have with being on call and getting paged, because hey, that alarm that sound is like nerve-wracking. They do it while they have the support of the entire team around them, or whoever is in working. So that's how I gradually introduce it.
That's great. I think it's good that you bring people in slowly into it, so it's not a shock to the system when it does happen after hours. What I'm curious more about now is clients. We know all this. Clients have strange expectations in terms of what they consider a system down event. How do you handle clients that are basically, declaring an emergency when it doesn't actually happen? Because you want your team to be ready, and when something happens, they should be ready. But how do you handle clients that kind of are not properly treating that, that emergency service that's available to them?
Yeah. So I think it's important to say and acknowledge that not all customers were created equal, right? It depends on the ARR, how much revenue you get from that customer, and whether they purchased a premier support package. So if it's a gold and diamond customer, that would tell me system is down, and even though system is not really down, still someone will respond to them and will look into that and handle them with much more care to really get to the bottom of things and why do they claim system is down. If it's not, then okay, thank you for reaching out to support, and we'll continue the investigation and handling of this case on Monday. Um, yes, the important thing is to provide that visibility to what tier that customer is. Like I said, gold, diamond, or ARR tier, or however you categorize that in your company.
Yeah, I think that's a great response. I mean, it's also about setting expectations with clients as well. Let them clearly know that this is what your contract says. This is what we are going to offer. It's also a great uplift opportunity, in my opinion. Hey, if you really want this attention, go up to the next tier, and then you can have that service. I mean, that's going to be yours then. So,
Yeah,
absolutely, setting expectations
exactly.
all over the place is amazing.
Yeah. So regarding setting expectations, I agree. So customers can select the severity of their ticket, and it doesn't just say urgent, high, medium. It says urgent, system is down. High, critical component is is not functioning. And medium and so forth. So again, being very descriptive about that.
Yeah, we when I was at Iterbolt, we had something called an incident ambassador, and that was people on the support side who would basically be the person that's responsible for saying this is an emergency, this is an incident, and then they would bring in all the engineering people, and they'd be the person sending out the pages. So they'd be really the person that gets it, and they would be basically deciding, is this really an emergency or is this not an emergency? And I think that was a good mechanism for the more senior people, because then that required them to know who the SDRs are, not SDRs, the SREs, who the SREs are, who are the other, who's on management. So then they started to really understand, okay, what is the escalation? What is the emergency? So do you have anything like that on your end where you have some people a little more senior that are the ones that say, okay, this is actual problem. I need to bring other people in to now manage this?
Yeah, so we try, in terms of bringing other people in, we really try to make this automated as possible, and also we're going a little bit into incident management, which is another topic that's really close to heart. I would love to talk about that, but when I joined Port, I also did a lot of work around the incident management and how making it more automized, just building more automations around that. In terms of deciding whether something is incident worthy or not, this is something that I actually did at the previous company I worked at Firebolt. We actually had a questionnaire. What is incident worthy? And it would be these check boxes, not really check boxes, but a list of questions that you need to check. And if the answer was yes to one of them, then yes, this is incident worthy. And that way it was very clear to any engineer. We didn't have to rely on a senior engineer or on a manager to make the decision. It was very clear to the support engineer as well as to the R&D that was paged eventually and had to engage in that incident of why this was incident worthy, yes or no. So I guess it's going back again to setting clear expectations, and yeah.
Look at that, crazy. I mean, I didn't really intentionally mean to go into incident management, but I think when we talk about 24/7, I think that's something you can't help but talk about because the two definitely go hand in hand, right? Because if it's the middle of the night and an incident happens, well, that just rolls into your 24/7 coverage.
And that's why you can't use a BPO or a BPO as code name for someone that is not an integral part of the team. Yeah, you need to have someone more senior or more knowledgeable.
Completely agree. I'd love to get your opinion on this. So when I was doing this on-call coverage, we only had US-based employees at the time. But then when the team started to bring on people from different time zones in Europe, that allowed them to basically spread out the coverage a little more, maybe earlier in the morning. We had East Coast coverage at night. How do you think that changes your coverage when you're not only US based and now you start to have people in different time zones around the world that are actually experienced? This falls more into your 24/5 coverage, not quite 24/7.
Correct.
But I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So by the way, we provide 24 by 5 to everyone, to all customers. And that was really easy for me when I came into this role. We already have people across the globe, meaning EMEA, US, but also Australia. So having someone, on the Pacific side, APJ, APAC, that's every support manager's dream. Really have that full coverage. So yeah, it was really easy for me. But the reason we had support engineers in all those regions is because we have customers in those regions. So it only makes sense to hire in different regions if you need to provide support during those business hours for those customers.
I completely agree. It doesn't make sense to, if you have like one or two customers in a region, it doesn't really make sense to hire there yet. But if you're starting to see repeated tickets and repeated revenue coming in from these different regions, then you're like, maybe we do need to hire someone here because they do need that person in their time zone, that person that's fluent in the product and can answer questions for them. So I completely agree.
Yeah, in a timely manner, yeah. And maybe you want to
Exactly.
expand to that region. Maybe you don't have a revenue stream from that region just yet, but you identify that as a strategic goal for the year, so you invest in that region.
That leads me to another question for you then, is that, when you start to have this dispersed team, how do you keep this sense of community within your own team? Because you're going to have people that are sleeping while other people are awake, but you need everyone to be on the same page. You can't have team meetings all at the same time. So how do you still keep the team together when they are literally spread out across the globe?
Yeah, that is, again, an excellent question. And I feel like it's part of the nature of a support team or a global support team that we have to be spread out across the globe. We're almost, on my team, we're just one person in each office. So even if in the US, for example, we have some people in New York, in Boston, and in Austin, but it's just one person in every office from the support team. Luckily, we have Zoom, So we rely heavily on that and heavily on Slack. So, internal communication within organizations. I think a lot of organizations do that. In terms of team meetings, we do have one weekly team meeting where we have everyone from the team, except for the folks in Australia. So yeah, Australia is the challenging time zone that unfortunately we can't have everyone on at the same time. So with the Australia folks, the direct manager is giving in more attention to making sure that they are aligned with all the new processes, procedures, product releases, and so forth. More on the one-on-one. But we did split the team into two. So we have the U.S. team. We have a weekly meeting just for the U.S. team, just a little bit more casual to have a sense of team. And then the rest of world, which is EMEA and APJ, and they also have a weekly meeting. So for them, even just for those two regions, it's a bit challenging because in Australia, let's say it's 7 p.m. and in the UK it's 8 a.m. But they try to meet somewhere in the middle so they could all meet and spend some quality time together, just having a sense of a team.
You always have to have a compromise there. Like someone has to be on maybe at the start of the day, someone has to be on the end of the day, but it's still nice to see everyone's face. At least that they can have some joking time. Just it creates that sense of community within.
Yes.
So I know you've been in the support game a long time because we worked together at Kinju, and what I'm really curious about, how have you seen AI change the landscape of your 24/7 coverage now? Because you have so many options now. You have chatbots that actually are better than what they used to be. You have different things that can read through tickets and kind of generate a response for you. So how have you seen what AI can do now to both help and hinder your 24/7 coverage?
Yes. So we're like 20 minutes in, and we got to the talking about AI. Definitely can't avoid that. Um, yeah, I will say that currently I still don't have. I'm in the process of implementing that AI chatbot or AI as the first responder. Um, yeah, I'll definitely roll it out during working hours first and not during the weekend to have more guardrails and control on any escalations if the AI doesn't reply as to the quality that it's expected from the support team. I can say that something that we're already using AI for, and I didn't mention that earlier, is to determine the urgency of the ticket. So because AI can read the ticket and understand the sentiment, and also if a component or the system is actually down, then we use a Zapier workflow for that to determine the severity of the ticket. So that way, that could help us during the weekends that we don't get alerted for a false positive, but we have another layer of guardrails that we're not just relying on the customer severity, stated severity, but also, someone vetted it, someone as in the AI. Yeah, how does AI fit into 24/7 SLAs? I know that's a tough one because what you're really committing to is just the first response. I mean, always in support SLAs, that's what you're committing to. And with AI, the first response can be, a matter of a second. So it's kind of cheating the system. Yeah, and I'll definitely need to give it some more thought once we roll this out.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you just can't say, oh, I think this looks good, and I'll just slap it in there because I think we've all seen stories of where AI just hallucinates and gives wrong information, and then that really makes the customer angry. And especially during incident time, that could actually lose you a customer. So I
Yeah.
definitely think that leaders right now have to do a lot of due diligence before they put something in place, and it's going 100% off by itself.
Yeah.
What has been your message to your team in terms of their role, basically, now that AI is coming in? Have there been questions that you've gotten, like, is AI going to take my job, or how am I going to use it?
Yeah, it's that era that we live in, everyone's a little bit concerned about their job security with AI entering more and more. I think it was more of a pressing question about a year or maybe even 2 years ago, but now we all understand that AI can't actually take our job, but what it can do is take all those small, tedious tasks that we used to do or handle the low-hanging fruits to actually allow us and handle, the more complex, challenging, what we love about support, right? So when you need a human touch to really solve an issue, AI can't do that for you just yet, but AI can help you get to the answer, speed up the investigation. So it does impact the capacity model because right now a single support engineer can handle more tickets throughout the day or a week than what they used to and what they were able to. Yeah, but I don't think existing support engineers should necessarily fear their job. But I do see support teams not needing as many headcounts as they needed before.
And that's a thing I've heard talking to other leaders. They said pretty much the same thing, is that the people that they may not necessarily back hire, or they might not bring someone in new, but that the way they're using AI these days is more of a false multiplier. But then it's also creating other opportunities for people because there's basically new responsibilities now because of these tools that they have in place. So I see it as just pretty much being a career opener for some people, that maybe they're only doing one thing, but now with all these tools that are coming into place, there's a whole bunch of new choices that they can go to. So
Yeah.
I agree. It's not going to take jobs. It may actually create some.
Yeah,
Honestly.
it's going to create new jobs, new careers. Yeah. For example, we have one that's called go-to-market automation engineer. So we didn't have that type of an automation engineer, a couple of years ago, and now you really see the need for that in the market. So yeah, just new jobs getting created, new job descriptions.
I want to go back to incident management for a minute here because,
Yeah.
speaking about AI here, it kind of sparked a question in my head, and that is, how have you seen AI maybe help with the initial triage? Because you said that the way your tickets can come in, it can kind of look at them, it can look at the sentiment. Has that sped up your triage for incidents now that you are using some of these tools?
Yeah, so you're barging to an open door here. That is exactly the product, the company I work for, Port.io. So it's, I didn't say what we are, but we're a agentic engineering platform. So it's a self-serve tool for platform engineers and developers to run automations and incorporate their AI agents. What I'm getting into is that we have a solution called self-healing incident, exactly for production incidents, and how you use the entire context lake that is within Port, along with AI, to speed up the investigation, or maybe even self-heal the incident. So you can use at all the recent PRs that were released, and AI can try and detect, okay, what recent code change what is the probability that has created this production incident, that specific outage. We're also using AI, so we're creating a Slack channel for every incident that is being created, and then we used our AI to go over all recent support tickets that were open, and see, okay, do we see several customers reporting this issue, and then we expedite the communication to them. Another thing that I'm working on is on publishing a status page during a production incident. So the status page, the AI can read through the Slack channel, understand what's the impact, what's going on, and suggest the verbiage for, let's publish this on the status page. These are the affected components. And it could also send a reminder every 30 minutes of like, hey, you didn't post an update on your Slack, on your status page yet. This is the suggestion for the next update. So yes, we're definitely using AI in incident management, not to completely mitigate the incident just yet, but definitely speed up investigation and help with communication.
So you touched on a couple of things there that I think are excellent. One is the fact where the AI can read through everything that's happened and maybe suggest a status update post, because I know that was always a big challenge for people on the team I worked with. They were trying to rope everything together and put the relevant facts in a status update, not making it too vague, but also not giving too much information.
Exactly.
Because if you give too much information, clients are going to freak out. So that is pretty amazing. One other question is, I'm curious if your company can do this, because what I've experienced in the past is that you have an incident that happened, maybe happened 9 months ago. Everyone forgot about it. And then it happens again. And now everyone has to scramble to look through the logs. And then someone says, oh yeah, this happened a while ago and this is what we should do. Why didn't we fix this? I'm curious if
I love those.
your
Why
incident
didn't we fix it back then? And then it's like
exactly
it's biting us again. Yes.
So
what's the question then? Sorry.
Does
I
your
completely
software then
relate.
does your software then allow you to look through, or does your process allow you to look through all these previous incidents and say, hey everyone, this actually happened before. This is what we did to fix it, and we need to remember to fix it this time.
This is amazing. We don't have it just yet, but yeah, I'm gonna add it as an action item right after this call. What we do, we use an AI tool called Kappa, KAPA, and what Kappa does is we feed it all of our Zendesk tickets and all of our Jira bugs, as well as Slack channels and internal Notion knowledge base. So we can ask questions there, or we could also surface it automatically, using an MCP to trigger it. But there is where we turn for our tribal knowledge, and we see, all these past Zendesk tickets, for example. But you're bringing up an excellent point that we should put in all of our production incidents there as well, meaning all of our production incident channels and all of our root cause analysis that we conduct for every single incident. So then we can learn from that, and during an incident we could trigger it and say, hey, look at this knowledge base of incidents. Do you see anything that would help us remediate? This is amazing. I love it. I haven't thought about it, and thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. It brought up a very salty memory where we had an incident. It caused, everyone was scrambling. It was 24 hours, and someone says, oh yeah, this happened in the past. And we said we were going to fix it, but we didn't. I'm like, yeah, that actually might be a good idea right there. So I'm happy that I can still assist in the support world, even though I'm not there right now.
100%.
Well, we are coming up on time right now, Idit, but it was an absolute pleasure.
Likewise.
I'd like to close out my episode by saying one thing that I think you can probably relate to, and that is, I always say that support isn't just a job, support is a mindset. The way we conduct ourselves, the way we carry knowledge throughout everything we do, and that the things we learn in support can be transitioned out of our daily lives in support. So just once again, thank you for coming on, Idit. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, and so nice to reconnect. Yeah, thank you for having me.